What's up, everybody? Jonathan Kios here with another amazing spotlight to shine on one of our September superstars. And I am just super pumped today. This is our third team member that we've been honored to cover. And Blake, I just can't wait to get started.
Me too, Jonathan. And speaking of this being like our third member, I just kind of want to remind everyone that if you're wondering, like, where are the other two? Third member? What? I'm like, they're on our school's YouTube site, which you're probably already on watching this. And you should be subscribed to by now, right? I mean, I know we're both subscribed. We're able to watch all of our newest content and stuff, so we can catch our spotlights and see how amazing our teammates are, as well as like our other podcasts and other cool stuff that we have. So go check it out. So that way, but after this, because you can't miss this superstar. All right. So that said, Jonathan, would you do the honors and introduce our third team member this month?
I would love to, Blake. Today's spotlight is going to focus on Jeff Grunau. And so we asked him our favorite hard-hitting questions that we're going to share with you, our listeners. So just as a reminder, our superstars are hard at work. They've jumped in serving our families, and they're all around rock stars. So they are not in studio with us today, but we asked them the questions for you guys. And so, all right, we're just going to jump right in. I'm super excited about this. So Blake, would you go ahead and take the first question?
I would be honored. I would love to. All right. So, okay, Jeff, we asked him who you are. Where are you from? What got you into education, and how long have you been in it? And so this is what Jeff replied to us. This is what he told us when we talked to him. And he said that he was born and raised here in Fresno and continues to call this place home. Said he initially got into education because of his girlfriend's dad, who would eventually become his father-in-law. And he had summers off, traveled, and still got paid. So those are the things that kind of those are great deals, right? And so at the time he was a janitor, and I thought that would be a great gig. So he went back to school and worked as an RSP aide at the high school level for 2 years. He got a feel for kind of whether it would be worth being in the classroom for that long of a time in order to get those summers off. And could he handle that day-to-day kind of atmosphere? But he said he loved being a part of the students when they're struggling to learn and eventually succeeding, that eventual success there. And so while he was working as an aide, he finished his BA at Fresno State, go Bulldogs, and got his teaching credential coursework at National University. His wife had already had her degree and was working full-time to kind of support them. So that's beautiful. He started teaching finally in 2007 at Coalinga Middle School as an intern. And from 2008 to 2013, he taught first grade at Huron, sorry if I butchered that, Jeff, elementary school. And he then moved to a brick and mortar charter in downtown Fresno. He was there from about 2014 to 2018 before landing at Inspire, which is now Central Valley Charter Schools, in July of 2018. In 2021, he was asked to join the SSC team, and he's loved his position ever since. This is his 19th year in education and his 17th as a teacher and his third as an SSC.
Wow, I can just already tell, and I'm sure our listeners can tell that we're so lucky to have him. One of the other questions we asked him is, okay, so what do you do? We asked him, what is your job title? Are you a part of just tell us what team you're a part of. And so he shared with us that he's now a student success coordinator, for those wondering what SSC means, with our school, Central Valley Charter Schools. And he carries a small roster as an IST for Monarch River. The SSC team is now part of, as you guys know, the larger student support team or student support plus team. And we're really excited about this team. And he said, he shared with us, he's like, I'm super pumped. I'm super excited to be a part of this team. And the reason he shared he was excited is because he's passionate about connecting our general ed students with some support specific to their needs and link them to additional help if needed. So as he was just sharing this, I just thought this is just a service guy. So Blake, what was the other question that you asked him?
Yeah, well, so we were kind of wondering, as our listeners might be, like, how does he provide service to our students? Being an SSC, IST, how does he provide those? And Jeff shared that he creates a team that includes the IST, the learning coaches or coach, as well as any other specialists, and they work through a process and process the challenges in the learning process. So the SSC team prepares recommendations that are based on input from the team that is collected before the meeting that might fit those families' interests and their abilities as well. They meet together as a team through Zoom, as we do a lot of stuff here at Central Valley Charter. And they ask more questions to kind of attempt to gain more of an understanding of the learning environment. Sometimes new information is revealed in those meetings that changes all the recommendations. So, kind of, he's very flexible, being able to kind of go with the flow. But he still has a plethora of resources to kind of draw from to make like a better fit to guide the family towards that student success. He also shared that the entire team has to agree on the path that's taken, with the understanding that in like 6 to 8 weeks, they will follow up to make those observations on that student growth. So a lot of teamwork goes in there. And then finally, the follow-up SST meetings provide that team with like really good direct insight into those interventions that were agreed on, and whether or not that plan was done with fidelity. And then they can kind of get that feedback on what worked, what didn't, and kind of pivot their direction as a team, and refine those suggestions as well as a coordinator based on that feedback, which is really cool. So, he uses that information as they work with the future discussions to really refine what they do in each of those different situations. So really cool, that flexibility, that it kind of tailored to each environment, each student, and just is really, really fantastic.
And I just love that Jeff is just so passionate about student growth, and that's what this student support plus team is all about. The next question we asked them was, okay, Jeff, so how can families, how can people be in touch in order to receive support services? Can you share your contact information, etc.? And so Jeff, being very thorough and student driven, gave us 3 places to go for student support. The first place he said was make sure you check out the handbook in section 16.4 and 16.5. So that was the first place. And then he also shared the email. And Blake, maybe we could go ahead and we'll put it up on the screen. He shared the email studentsupport@centralvcs.org. So, and again, that's studentsupport@centralvcs.org. And then he also said you can visit them during an office hours, which is in the CVCS calendar. So if you need support, again, this is a service team, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Blake. Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. That's awesome. I love just the multitude of different ways we can get in contact with Jeff and figure out some more information. We know we love working with Jeff, but we wanted to know why his students love working with him. And so Jeff shared with us on that matter. He said that the struggling students and learning coaches have tried everything they can think of, and can't quite break through before they get to the point where they meet with an SST. And so he ensures that the learning coach and the students are heard which is frequently not the case, in a lot of different schools, brick and mortars or any other ones. Sometimes we're just not feeling heard. And so he makes sure to listen to their story without any judgment or any kind of agenda. And it often changes what they thought was what was going on, and adjust the entire approach to help break down those walls that maybe they might have encountered in the past. Using his educational knowledge and those social emotional learning resources, as well as taking feedback from previous SST meetings, you can kind of craft ideas and interventions that may work for the learning coach, and prompt them to kind of return in that 6 to 8 weeks that he kind of mentioned earlier. And he's able to tell them specifically, like, we don't want to tell them that they think things that they think we think they want to hear, but really what happened that maybe was successful or wasn't. So he's kind of telling honesty is the best policy there, right? And sometimes they admit that they don't want to do it, and with fidelity, and he encourages that the learning coach go and try again and attend for those follow-ups and those check-ins. Often learning coaches or students are really excited to share their progress and how much they appreciate the tools that they're given. And he says you get to start to see those cracks in the wall and to see that progress that they've never really encountered before. Some even, he said, have cried with joy, and many leave with like a big smile, and hope to have, give all these students and learning coaches the right tools, and with the feeling that these students can succeed. And he says just it makes the position so much fun for them.
Love it. Speaking of fun, we had to ask some fun fact questions. What would an interview, Blake, be without some just fun questions, So we also wanted to know just something interesting about him. And so he shared some pretty cool fun facts that I'm pretty sure a lot of us didn't know. He's on the board and helped start a neighborhood association that brings neighbors together to solve problems. There you go, service guy, right? In the neighborhood, gathering together, just how can he serve his neighbors? So he not only practices this service mentality in his professional life, but also in his personal life. And he said, often people wait for the government or the city or the state or the federal government to come in and fix it, or fix whatever the problem is, when they can actually solve it themselves, when we can actually solve it ourselves and not have to wait for a slower moving entity or something that is like slower in making change. And so I love it. He says everyone can be involved. When you rent an apartment for a couple of months or have been a homeowner for 50 years, to band together and to help each other out. So again, service seems to be his mantra, and we love having him on this team. And so he shares about how in 2019, the neighbors decided the dark alleys in their neighborhood were an avenue for crime. And so they reached out and got a grant to buy solar security lights and attach them up out of reach on poles in the alleys for neighbors who wanted them. They were able to light 15 alleys together. And as a result, they saw a drop in break-ins. This was pre-COVID. So I thought that was super cool. Jeff just leading the charge. And then he also shared that in 2021, people were using their neighborhood as a racetrack and sideshow because of their wide streets. The board that Jeff was a part of found other areas in the world, Denmark, UK, New York, San Francisco, that have successfully pulled off an event and made significant roadway improvements to curb the same problem. So they hosted the first Play Streets events in Fresno and hoped 500 neighbors would show up. Wow. they weren't prepared because 2,500 people showed up. There was news coverage. It was like a big deal. And as a result, there was a dramatic decrease in racing and sideshows in their neighborhood because of the neighbors coming together. And now the city of Fresno is hosting 1 and 2 Play Streets events in each district in 2024 because of the success. So I love Jeff's out of the box thinking. Another just kind of fun story he shared, or a fun fact, was he said this year the neighbors wanted a community garden started. So I think that's so cool. And he said they're working with the city of Fresno to change a plot of land that the city owns but doesn't want to maintain into a usable space. So they've collected sketches of the lot and ideas, or gathering ideas for the space. They've organized cleanup events that caught certain council members' attention, or a specific council member actually, and he has pledged $100,000 toward the project and fast tracking the zoning to make this dream possible. So this endeavor will be a several-year project. So in the meantime, they've reserved in their budget some assistance for families that want to change to a drought-tolerant landscape to save water and the expense of maintaining a lawn. The city already has this grant program he shares, but the family has to provide the money up front and get reimbursed. So many in our neighborhood, many in their neighborhood, he says, can't afford the upfront costs, so they have grant money to remove that barrier. And so automatically, as he's sharing this, I'm just thinking, Blake, so he serves our families in the Central Valley, and he's kind of like a hometown hero. I don't know. I just think Jeff is a hometown hero.
No, I would agree. And I mean, in that same vein, it's like you see all of the problem solving and the action he's taking for all these, issues that are coming up in the community and around him, So it's like you can only imagine the effort and the thought that goes into working with our students and the learning coaches and all the solutions he's coming up there in the classroom, which is just inspiring. It's really cool. So yeah, I mean, we're proud. I mean, I'm just proud to know. I mean, this is really cool, and all of this was new information. It's just amazing. And speaking of being proud, we asked Jeff. We was like, what is something that you're proud of in your career? School focused here in Central Valley Charter Schools. And he said that he shared that he had a single mom and a daughter that were both in dire straits last year. They were kind of on the verge of a breakdown, and the academics were a symptom that were flagged that they needed help. And at the beginning of the SST process, he had an intervention ideas that might work on the academics that were ready to go. And as he listened to the mom open up about their life and some of the trauma that they encountered, academics dropped in priority and focus, and social emotional learning, the SEL, rose up to the top. So we discussed that SEL Tier 3 approach and one academic tool to try, and they would check up on them those 6 to 8 weeks again. And in the following up meeting, Tier 3 SEL meeting, the support had not gotten started yet, while the academic tool was an okay fit. So they decided on another follow-up to see if SEL counseling might help. And so at the end of the semester, both mom and daughter were thriving and excited for the meeting. The counseling support unlocked so much for both of them in their respective lives, and academics were not an issue at all. It turns out it was that SEL support that they just needed to begin to get out of that trauma in order to access that curriculum. And so he was so glad that he was trained to actually listen and hear the words and move on with the original, on from his original prescription, as he says. And that he has student success coordinators by name, but they're often family success facilitators supporting them as the family unit as a whole, finding new ways to kind of move together as a family. So you see some of that that listening and problem solving, like what he doesn't, like you were just talking about, Jonathan, in his community, you see that ingenuity and that flexibility as well as those listening skills applied. And just what an amazing story.
Love it. Love it. What an amazing teammate, Blake, for us to have on this journey with us, and for our families to have on the journey with them. I'm so excited to be working with him this year on this dynamic team. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to our September Staff Spotlight. And be on the lookout for the last one this month. And again, just to echo what my teammate said, this can best be done by subscribing to our school's YouTube channel. So leave some love for Jeff and for our team members in the comments, and we will catch you on the next one.